Well, Eileen, thank you for joining us at Women at Woodstock 2013. I'm so glad you're here.
Well, I am thrilled to be here. I think I shared with you earlier, this was one of my goals to get to come to this, and I am very happy to be here today with you.
Great. So Mary Eileen Williams, or goes by Eileen Williams, is a career counselor for one thing, and also has a show, Feisty Side of 50, that we've all heard on the radio, and your blog, Feisty Side of 50. So you have a few roles in your life that you're carrying out right now, yes?
Yes, I have multiple career paths at the current moment, yes, absolutely. And I did close my private practice doing career counseling, but I still really enjoy the process of helping people figure out what their next steps are and actually getting where they want to go, so the actual job search process as well.
Mm-hmm. Anyone who's in my age group or our age group who's looking for a job almost invariably says, I'm defeated before I start because no one's going to hire me. I'm too old, or I'm seen as too old. And I know you've helped a lot of people with that. And tell me, what are the things that you do to help people get over that feeling that the moment they walk in the door, if they get an interview, everyone's going to look at them and say, oh, no, you're out. How do you help people get through that and have confidence?
Well, this is a topic near and dear to my heart, I have to say, Anne, because it infuriates me that people our age and older are hearing these discouraging reports all the time. So I suggest they consider a few things. Number one, they have to figure out who, the source of these reports. And of course, it's the media. We all know that media does tend to spin bad news rather than good news. Another thing is that they tend to cite statistics, and statistics are by definition generalities. So really, if someone's buying into all the statistics, those can't take into account how many people are personally in your network, how you're conducting your job search, how many openings there are that are available to you in what you want to be doing in your area. There's a whole host of individual factors. So I really suggest that please do not buy in. If you're out there looking for work right now, do not buy into all that bad news. And the primary reason of all is because if you do, on a job search you have to show confidence, energy, and enthusiasm, and you're going to be walking around like this. So it really does not work. There are a lot of overblown statistics as far as that's concerned. So come from a position of strength. Easier said than done, I realize.
Yes, absolutely it is. And especially if you've been looking, anyone who's been looking for a job for a while has a problem keeping their confidence level up.
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you have any tips and techniques that you offer to people, especially surrounding the issue of age? If you feel like I just need an extra boost so that I can feel confident walking in the door and having them lay eyes on me for the first time, or I need something extra in my resume that somehow acknowledges that, yes, I know I'm older, but I'm not, out of date, and I'm okay with that, and I'm okay with your work environment. Are there any little techniques or buzzwords that people can use to put the potential employer at ease, really, more than themselves?
Well, there's a number of things that people can do that are older. One of the things is you have to first consider, okay, some of the discouraging stereotypes they may be holding against you, and go out of your way to address them. As I said, you want to come from a position of strength, and you want to show them that you have kept current, that you are a lifelong learner, that you enjoy contributing on a consistent basis. So if your technical skills are out of date, that is the number one, again, stereotype against mature job seekers. There are a number of free and low-fee websites that I suggest people check out. One of them is lynda.com, and if you don't mind, I'm going to lynda.com. $25 a month, unlimited training, and they boast over 80,000 tutorials, and it's all technical based. There's another one called G like George, C like Cat, F like Frank, learnfree.org. They have the Microsoft Office suite you can learn, all of these things, and it's absolutely free. They also, I should take this one time, have classes in math, and if English is a second language, you can take classes in that too. Again, all free. Another one I like is openculture.com, which helps. That boasts the largest accumulation of free websites that either have cultural training or educational training. So people need to make sure that they get up to date on that. And then you mentioned resumes. Resumes, again, will hopefully get you through the door, and one of the ways you can show that you are a lifelong learner is to have a special section underneath your education, and I would suggest using this title specifically, Ongoing Professional Development. And then you put some of these trainings down and take additional classes as well, and make sure that you are presenting yourself right up front, again, as someone who continually wants to grow their skill set.
I love that. This is all almost new news to me, except for the lynda.com, which I stumbled on somehow. I think I found that when I teach, as you know, internet catch-up for boomers and beyond at
Yes.
UCLA. And I found that I'm there to teach about Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, blogging and all of that. But there are issues in the class, depending on the person sitting there and their age and so on, with just basic issues of Word and Excel and using the computer that have nothing to do with social media really. And I did stumble across that site and pointed it out to them and said, these are the places where you can find information you're embarrassed to ask people because you feel so out of date or whatever. And you can look up any darn thing you want. So I love the other sites that you mentioned. That's very helpful. And I love that resume title. I would not have thought of it exactly that way. Like, people put affiliations or interests or whatever, but ongoing professional education. Or
Development, yes.
Development.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. It indicates a good attitude.
You had also mentioned interviews, and we talked about, this is prior to getting through the door for the interview. Many times people tend to be reactive in interviews, and if you can take a more proactive approach, especially as a mature applicant, I think that's going to serve you well. And we'll go back to those nasty stereotypes. I call them stereotypes that sting. But a lot of times younger employers are going to hold these stereotypes. Again, they're technically out of date. Mommy and daddy won't want to report to me. They're too expensive. They're overqualified, or some of these things. So if you get the sense that some of these are in the back of their head, they're not going to speak them because many of them are illegal or borderline illegal kinds of, around issues around age and all. But be proactive and come up with some examples of how, say, I was known for my technical skills. In fact, a number of my coworkers would turn to me as the go-to person to help them with this or that. Or I take pride in what I do, or I'm flexible as far as salary, or some of these other issues that if you feel they could be, again, eliminating you possibly because of these stereotypes, you really have nothing to lose to bring them out in the open. And a lot of times it'll just make things a more open communication as well.
That's a great idea. Don't just sit there and wait for the questions.
Right.
But try to work in some issues that you may sense that they are thinking but not saying.
That's true, and also, if you can open up a dialogue early into the interview, that's helpful as well, because generally, the interviewer is going to start out with an open-ended, not necessarily a question, but a tell me about yourself.
Yeah, the dreaded question.
The dreaded question, tell me about yourself, or what brings you here today, or something like that. And of course, you have your elevator pitch all aimed and ready to go at that. But then, if you want, what you can do is, again, create a dialogue rather than they're bombarding you with questions. You want to present yourself as a consultant, as a skills merchant, who the employer has problems. You are the perfect problem solver. So early into the interview as possible, now that I've told you a little bit about my background, can you, as the hiring manager, but you wouldn't say that, but can you tell me what you see to be the most critical components of the position? Okay, well, this needs to be done, this needs to be, or how can the new person make your life easier, or what needs to be done immediately? And then, well, interesting you say that, because my background lends itself to it. And so you've got that communication going, and again, you're presenting yourself more as a consultant and someone who really can be there and support the manager.
That's excellent, and that takes some skill. Probably a good idea to practice maybe.
Practice, absolutely, yeah. A lot of these, I think the more time that you actually practice some of these example statements that you're substantiating example statements, or some of these things you can practice with a buddy, or you can even record yourself and just play it back.
Oh, heaven forbid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it goes into your unconscious, and then even if you get nervous, then sometimes it'll work. So
Exactly.
it's one of those techniques.
Now, you have a book on this topic. Yes?
Oh, yes, yes. Well, thank you, Ann. Yes, it's called Land the Job You Love, 10 Surefire Strategies for Job Seekers Over 50. And I go into these and other techniques. And you did mention social media, just so everybody knows, I'm sure they do, but you really have to be on LinkedIn at this point, too. So you help with that as well.
Yes, exactly.
And I do have some tips in the book about that, too.
Excellent, good, okay. Well, thank you so much. This is so packed with information. I have like 5 new resources that I didn't have
Oh,
before.
Ann, well,
I'm
thank
going to
you.
share with my friends, and I really appreciate it. And thanks for joining us at Women at Woodstock.
Well, it is definitely my pleasure.